Hello everyone. Welcome back to the lecture series on ESP32. In the previous lecture, we learned how to handle a shared GPIO interrupt using the manual method. There, first we had to read the GPIO status register. Then we had to find out which GPIO pin generated the interrupt. After that, we had to clear the interrupt status latch ourselves. Only then we could perform our actual work. ESP-IDF provides a much better solution. It provides the GPIO ISR service using the GPIO install ISR Service API. In today's lecture, we will understand how this service actually works. We will see how the dispatcher works behind the scene. We will also understand why IRAM ATTR is important. Then we will see which GPIO APIs are safe to use inside an interrupt. Finally, we will discuss a small mistake that many developers make while writing ISRs. So let us begin. On the left side, we have the manual approach. Here we use GPIO ISR register API. In this method, your function itself becomes the interrupt service routine. That means every responsibility is yours. You have to read the status register. You have to identify which GPIO generated the interrupt. You have to clear the interrupt status. And then you perform your application specific work. Now let us look at the approach on the right. Here, ESP-IDF places its own dispatcher before your handler. The dispatcher first does all the common works. It reads the status register. It identifies which GPIO generated the interrupt. It clears the interrupt status. Then it calls only the handler that belongs to that GPIO. Now, your ISR becomes much simpler. Instead of worrying about interrupt management, you can focus only on your application logic. So this is the biggest advantage of using the GPIO ISR service. It reduces your work and also reduces the chances of making mistakes. How the dispatcher works and what exactly is the dispatcher? It's not any new hardware inside the ESP32. The GPIO peripheral is still generating the same shared interrupt as before. Only the software handling has changed. Now, let us see what happens behind the scene. Whenever an interrupt occurs on one of the GPIO pins, first ESP-IDF's dispatcher starts running. The dispatcher reads the GPIO status register, then it clears the interrupt status latch automatically. Next, it checks its internal table. This table stores the handler registered for each GPIO pin. Once it finds the correct handler, it calls only that handler. That's all. Your ISR never need to read the GPIO status register anymore. Now that we understand how the dispatcher works, the next question is, how do we actually use it in our program? The GPIO ISR service is very simple to use. In fact, there are only 4 APIs. Let us look at each of them one by one. The first API is GPIO install ISR service. This is always the first API you should call. Before we can register any interrupt handler, we first need to start the ISR service. That's exactly what this function does. It installs the GPIO ISR service. From this point onwards, whenever a GPIO interrupt occurs, the dispatcher becomes responsible for handling it. You call this API only once. Usually you will call it during system initialization inside AppMain. After that, you don't need to call it again. The second API is GPIO ISR handler add. The next step is to tell ESP-IDF which function should handle interrupts for each GPIO. This API registers your interrupt handlers for a particular GPIO pin. For example, suppose you have an interrupt on GPIO 4. You register ISR 4 for GPIO 4. Similarly, if GPIO 19 has another interrupt, you register ISR 19 for GPIO 19. Now, Whenever GPIO 4 generates an interrupt, only ISR 4 will execute. Whenever GPIO 19 generates an interrupt, only ISR 19 will execute. You do not have to check the GPIO status register yourself anymore. The dispatcher has already identified the interrupt source. It simply calls the correct handler. This is one of the biggest advantages of using ISR service. The third API is GPIO ISR handler remove. Now suppose one GPIO is no longer needed. Maybe your application has finished using GPIO 4. Then we should not uninstall the entire ISR service. That would also stop interrupt for every other GPIO. Instead, we simply remove the handler for that one GPIO. That's what GPIO ISR handler remove does. It removes the handler only for the GPIO you specify. Every other registered GPIO continues working normally. Then finally we have GPIO uninstall ISR service. As the name suggests, it removes the entire GPIO ISR service. All registered handlers are removed. The dispatcher is also removed. Finally, the allocated interrupt is released. This is the complete setup of our 2-pin example. GPIO 4 and GPIO 19 both controlling a shared output on GPIO 2. We will do the hands-on in the next lecture, so we will see it there. So far we have been using different GPIO APIs, but there is one important point we need to understand. Not every GPIO API is safe to call from inside an interrupt. The compiler won't stop you from calling these functions. Your program will compile successfully, but that doesn't mean the code is correct. Let us look at the table on this slide. Notice that the first two APIs, GPIO interrupt enable and GPIO interrupt disable, these are not ISR safe by default. They become ISR safe only when config GPIO control function in IRAM is enabled in SDK config, which puts the GPIO control function in IRAM. Next, look at GPIO set level. Although it works perfectly in normal application code, it performs additional validation internally. Inside an ISR, we usually want to avoid this extra overhead. Instead, ESP-IDF provides another set of functions. These are GPIO low-level APIs available in HAL GPIO LL.h. Functions like GPIO low-level interrupt enable, GPIO LL interrupt disable, and GPIO LL set level. These APIs write directly to the GPIO registers. They do not acquire task logs. They do not depend on flash resident code. That's why they are much safer inside an interrupt. So whenever you are writing an ISR, use the GPIO LL APIs. Now let us see the interrupt handler. The first thing you will notice is the IRAM ATTR before the function name. This is very important. It places the ISR code in IRAM. Inside the ISR, every GPIO operation uses the GPIO LL APIs. These APIs are safer inside an interrupt. Now notice the order of this statement. First we disable the other interrupt sources. Only after that we disable the interrupt that brought us here. This small ordering prevents a race condition. After both interrupt sources are under control, we perform the required work. In this example, we simply change the output level of GPIO 2. Finally, before leaving the ISR, we enable both the interrupt sources again. Both handlers look almost the same. The only difference is which GPIO generated the interrupt. Always make sure you disable the other interrupt sources first. Let us understand why this order is important. Suppose we disable our own interrupt first. At first, everything looks fine. But there is a small timing window. GPIO 4 is already disabled while GPIO 19 is still active. If another interrupt arrives from GPIO 19 during this short interval, it may be missed or handled incorrectly. These bugs are very difficult to reproduce because they depend on timing. Now look at the correct approach. First disable the other interrupt source, then disable your own interrupt. This simple change removes the timing window that makes the ISR much more reliable. Now let us understand why we used ESP interrupt flag IRAM and IRAM ATTR. Normally, your ISR code is stored in flash memory. Most of the time, this works without any problem. However, during operations like OTA update and VS writes, the flash cache may be temporarily unavailable. If an interrupt occurs at that time, the processor cannot fetch ISR instruction from flash. The application may crash. To avoid this problem, we use ESP interrupt flag IRAM together with IRAM ATTR. The IRAM ATTR places the ISR in internal RAM. ESP interrupt flag IRAM allows it to execute even when the flash cache is unavailable. One more point is equally important. If the ISR runs from IRAM, the functions called by the ISR should also be suitable for that environment. That is why we prefer the GPIO LL APIs inside the interrupt handlers. So, both the flag and the low-level APIs work together to make the ISR safe and reliable. So far, we have learned how to install the ISR service and register interrupt handlers. Now, let us see how to remove them when they are no longer needed. Suppose your application no longer uses GPIO 4. In that case, there is no need to remove the entire ISR service. You can simply call GPIO ISR handler remove for GPIO 4. This removes only the handler associated with GPIO 4. Every other registered GPIO handler continues to work normally. Now, let us look at GPIO uninstall ISR service. As the name suggests, this API removes the complete ISR service. All the registered handlers are removed. The dispatcher is also removed. Finally, the interrupt allocated by the service is released. So the sequence is install the service, register the handler, run the application, remove individual handlers only when required. Finally, uninstall the complete service only when you no longer need it. Let us quickly revise what we learned in this lecture. First, we understood why the GPIO ISR service is useful. It removes most of the common interrupt handling work, and let us focus on the application logic. Next, we learned the 4 APIs used with the ISR service. We then saw how to install the service, register handlers, and use them correctly inside AppMain. After that, we discussed which GPIO APIs are safe to use inside an interrupt. For ISR code, the GPIO LN APIs are preferred choice because they directly assess the hardware register. We also understood why ESP interrupt flag IRAM and IRAM ATTR are important during flash operation. Finally, we learned the correct order of enabling and disabling interrupt sources to avoid race condition. In the next lecture, we will use the 4 APIs install, add, remove and uninstall the ISR services. So, that's all from this lecture. See you in the next lecture. Thank you.